The war in Sri Lanka has gone on for 12 years now. Beyond the visible peace and calm, it rages with great ferocity, perhaps more so today than at any time before. Just a year ago, things were different. There was hope. The Popular Alliance that had just won the elections had agreed to a ceasefire with the guerrillas of LTTE, the Tamil Tigers. The possibilities of a peaceful solution were, perhaps, better than ever. But on April the 19th last year, the Tigers broke the ceasefire, and shortly thereafter, the government forces started its biggest offensive. In December, they took the Tigers' stronghold, Jaffna, in the north.
The fight is not against Tamils, therefore it is not a fight between Sinhala and Tamil, but it's a fight by the elected government through its military wing against few Tamil secessionist terrorists.
President Kumaratunga and Defence Minister Rathwati know that a durable peace can only be reached by political settlement. Therefore, they've introduced a plan for power sharing, a plan aimed at accommodating moderate Tamil groups and demands for increased autonomy in the northeast. The Tigers are not part of this picture. They're excluded until they put down their arms. And the plan must first be accepted by Parliament, and then there has to be a referendum. The question is, of course, if the Sinhalese majority is prepared to vote for increased rights for the Tamil minority. Among many Sinhalese opposed to the plan is the Buddhist clergy. First, the Tamils in the north will try to get their own territory. And then the Muslim minority will want theirs. And then the country will be divided. According to the plan, the Tamils will now, in principle, get their own state. The next step will be that the other Tamil group, the Indian one, will also want a separate state. We leave the capital Colombo and cross the island to the beautiful east coast. In the Bay of Pasikuda, the old luxury hotels stand deserted and dilapidated. This has been a war zone since the beginning of the 80s. No tourists have been seen here for 12 years. The government soldiers that are here live as if under siege. Last year they evacuated many bases in this area. The government needed its soldiers for the Battle of Jaffna, and that's where they were concentrated. So today they control only the main roads and a number of small villages along the coast. In other words, a Sinhalese-dominated army in an area with an overwhelming majority of Tamils. No wonder perhaps that so many Tamils look at the government troops as an occupation force. The civilians are steadily being targeted with meticulous security checks. Everything and everybody has to be searched. But at the Jesuit school in central Batticaloa, the priests criticise both sides in the conflict. Father Harry Miller has been working here for 47 years, and he sees the leader of the Tamil Tigers, Vellupillai Prabhakaran, personally as the greatest obstacle to peace.
It's not what he gains, he's going to lose. There is no gain for Prabhakaran in peace. He's made his bid, and it's a bid of insurrection. He's a freedom fighter, so you might call him a renegade freedom fighter now, whose cause is his own. He's no longer serving the cause of the Tamil people. Everything he asked for at the beginning, except independence. And even that has been given almost to the extreme in the devolution of power. There is nothing left for him in victory, except having to pay for his crimes.
Yeah, I think the road has to be essentially political. And in this, the LTT is going to struggle as hard as it can to make sure that it doesn't happen. But to start with, the government will have to implement a peace package and return to Tamil accountability under the law. That is, at the moment now, for example, the Tamils in the north in certain areas are being shelled. And that is not the way to talk to people. The way to talk to people is to make sure that the state is accountable. They are not treated in an indecent manner.
This is the hospital at Batticaloa. Very few independent reports have come from northern or eastern Sri Lanka since April last year. The government's always claimed that the civilian population has been spared in the war. But here there are whole families that were burnt by petrol bombs released over suspected guerrilla camps. Other civilians simply had the misfortune to get caught in crossfire. Pavrathan, 6 years old, lost almost everyone of her big family. Their home was close to a military base with government special forces. One morning, the guerrillas attacked. Parvathan's cousin, Sakuntala, managed to escape. The others stayed in the house. They thought the soldiers had left, but they were still on the road. When the family came out, they were shot at. 3 died and 2 were wounded. I heard about it when I was in the neighboring village. So is there an end to this brutal war? Is there a solution to the deep ethnic differences that lie at the heart of it all? Or will the war continue to take its grisly toll on both sides?
If the ethnic question is to be resolved, then my opinion is that the government should talk to the LTT, because they are fighting on the ground and they are holding almost more than 60 to 65% of the land of the Northeast. And it is by speaking to them and bring them back to the mainstream of politics, negotiating with them, the ethnic problem of this country can be resolved.
Just a few miles from Batticaloa, the rural population lives under Tamil Tiger control. Life in the villages looks normal enough at first sight, but the reality is that the guerrillas rule with an iron fist. The Tamil Tigers are looked upon as one of the toughest in the world. Some would say the most fanatical. When they took up arms in the beginning of the 80s, they were but one of several Tamil groups that struggled against discrimination against the Tamil minority. But little by little, they eliminated rivaling groups, and today they're alone. The brunt of the guerrilla movement has become a totalitarian one that will not stand criticism of its exercise of power, and every soldier is a possible martyr. We use the prussic acid to save society if we're caught. We do have information. It's better to commit suicide than to give information to the army. The head of the Tigers in East Sri Lanka explains why the Tigers broke the ceasefire last year. We had a deadline set for the 19th of April. We had been tricked so many times before by the Sinhalese government. We demanded that people should have freedom of movement and that the economic sanctions against the North should be lifted, that they opened a road to the Jaffna Peninsula, and that the Tamil Tigers could move freely with its arm in the eastern provinces. We do want to negotiate, but then the military will have to leave Jaffna, and they should not try to disarm us.
விலகிச் சென்று ஒரு தீர்வை வைப்பதாக எங்களுக்கு தெரிவித்து அதை உண்மையிலே நிறைவேற்றுவதாக இருந்தால் நாங்கள் பேச்சுவார்த்தை மூலம் பிரச்சனையை தீர்க்கிறதுக்கு அரசாங்கம் விரும்பினால் நாங்கள் செல்ல தயார்.
How much are the Tigers prepared to sacrifice to realize their dreams of a free Tamil homeland? How far are they prepared to go? Near the village of Thadiyadi, they've made a graveyard for their martyrs on the Eastern Front. In a short while, it's become almost crowded. On a wall there are posters, pictures of so-called black tigers, young men and women who took on suicide missions. Many of them are just teenagers. So far, more than 50,000 people have died in the war. The defense minister said recently that the government plans to launch new offensives against the Tigers on the Eastern Front in the coming months. True, Sri Lanka is a breathtakingly beautiful country, but appearances are deceptive.